से जुड़ी किसी भी छोटी या बड़ी अपडेट के लिए सब्सक्राइब करें स्पोर्ट्स तक और साथ ही किसी भी नोटिफिकेशन को पाने के लिए बेल आइकन को दबाना ना भूलें।
Justin, Merry Christmas, first of all.
Merry
Just
Christmas.
wondering, what was Clarko and Fags' take on the pitch out there?
You better ask them. I can give you my opinion on it, but it was nice to have them there. I mean, Alistair Clarkson's one of the, probably, well, arguably the great AFL footy coach. So, and Chris Fagan is a ripping bloke who's doing a great job at Brisbane. So it was nice to have them there. I love picking people's brains and seeing what they think of how it looks, well, how we're going about it. So it's nice to have them there. What they think about the pitch, I'm not really sure, to be honest.
What's your take on the wicket?
Yeah, it's great to see some grass on the wicket. I've played Shield cricket here for over the last 6 or 7 years. I've seen the Test match here, and I've said forever the most important thing in Test cricket, in international cricket at the moment, are the pitches we play on. Because if you have great pitches, you'll have contests between bat and ball, and then Test cricket will be alive and well and kicking. If we don't, if we play on flat wickets which don't do anything, then it becomes a really boring game, and that's for someone who loves Test cricket probably more than anyone in this room, I reckon. So so the wickets are really important. It's great to see some grass on it. It'll be really looking forward to seeing how it plays, and hopefully it's a contest between bat and ball, because it's important not just for this series, this Test match, but also for world cricket actually.
Justin here. Yeah. Do you believe in momentum, and has there been any change after Perth Test?
I believe in confidence, there's no doubt, and there's something, confidence like respect is something you have to earn, and we've worked really hard. I mean, we haven't had much success. We fought really hard in the first test in Dubai. We thought we were taking a bit of momentum into the next test, and we had a poor second test. We fought hard in Adelaide without getting the result, so it's still a bit disheartening actually, and then to win one, you see it's nice to get rewarded for some of the work the boys are doing. So hopefully they'll take some confidence out of that. There were some really good signs in Adelaide, there's some really good signs in Perth, so hopefully we keep building and keep getting better every game.
Just on that momentum then, Justin, and the momentum plus the pitch, does that shape the 11 at all, and where does that sit at the moment in your mind? Everyone's talking about that sort of one spot at 5 and 6.
Yeah, that's the truth. I mean, we look at that in a perfectly balanced side. You've got someone who can bowl some overs, so Mitch becomes an attractive commodity on a wicket, unlike probably Adelaide and Perth, which has been, we've known would be an even contest actually. So this one, although it looks like there's some grass, we haven't made that decision yet though.
How much does the Sydney Test play into your thinking in this game? Do you just pick the team that's going to win this Test, or do you have to think about Sydney given the short turnaround and looking after your bowlers?
With the schedule, international schedulers now, you're always looking at this Test, but you're always looking ahead. I mean, we talk about the World Cup and we talk about the Ashes, and then we talk about the 2 Tests against Sri Lanka. We're always looking at how we try and manage it. But in this, since I've been coach, we've talked about how important this series is, Australia versus India. We know how determined India are to win this series. There's no denying that. You can see it in their body language, the way they're playing. So in this instance, this is the only test we're thinking about. But we're always aware that there's 2 back-to-back test matches, which is tough.
Can you just talk a bit about the bowling attack that you have? You obviously play with Warner, McGrath and these sort of guys. Can you just talk a bit about how they bounce off each other, your 4 bowlers, and their camaraderie both off the field and how they work together on the field? Yeah,
they're very close, no doubt about that. It's a bit like the backman in footy, in an AFL footy. They're a really closely knit group, and all of them admit at the moment they haven't quite nailed it yet this series. So that's exciting. I think you saw it in the Ashes last year, where there was times where they were all over England because they functioned so well. Nathan Lyon is literally world class the way he's going about his business. He's been so good to have in the team. And the other 3, we're seeing great signs, and there's times when they've bowled worse and got more wickets, but I'm really excited, whether it's in this Test match or the Sydney Test matches or whenever, when those guys bowl as that unit, that's a really positive. I can't wait to see that.
Justin, you're talking about having the extra bowler and the extra few overs. Does the strength of playing against spin, facing spin, come into it as well? How much of a factor might that be, especially if it is a slow one, if India have enough fit spinners to maybe even pick two?
Yeah, well, we weigh up all those things. I mean, Pete's a very good player of spin bowling. Mitch is a pretty good player of spin bowling too, actually. So we weigh up all those things, and that's why they're the hard decisions. It's the tough thing is you generally talk about one position, and they're the ones that give you the most headaches. So that's part of the job. And then you got to tell someone they're not playing, which is a tough thing. Tell someone they are playing, it's a nice Christmas present. Tell them they're not, it's not a nice Christmas present. So like I said, that's part of the job. But all those factors, trust me, we think about, well, that's how I spend my life, really. It's a bit sad thinking about all those things. Not what Christmas presents I'm buying for my kids. It's about who's plays spin better, whether we're going to play the extra thing, or how many overs are the fast bowlers are bowling, or who's going to open the bat. Oh, yeah, sad.
If it's any consolation, we all just write about it and talk about it, so that's even sadder.
Well, we have those meetings. I love it about, you come up, everyone's got ideas and everyone's got opinions. It's great, and they usually come up with 14 or 15. That's the easy part. You got to make the final 11. That's the tough part. So, but that's what we're in the job for.
I was just going to say on Pete and Mitch, how sort of with both of them is the mental state. I suppose Pete just copping it from 360 degrees at the moment, and Mitch kind of, in the squad, but back to
cops it just as much.
Yeah, and playing Big Bash and even copping it for a Big Bash innings.
Yeah, I mean, we actually talked about that in our team meeting this morning. With it, we know, and you guys will probably get sick and bored of me saying there's so much noise, there's so much opinion, but we've got to keep trusting the path we're on, whether it's individually, whether it's the individual players, or whether it's as a group. There's nothing we can do about all the noise and the criticism. What we can do is concentrate on what's important, and for them it's watching the ball and it's having their routines right. For the bowlers, it's doing what they can with the ball and their body language and attitude. So we know there's lots of criticism. That's okay. It's hard. I'm glad that's why I retired, so I don't have to listen to you clowns giving us a hard time anymore. But that's okay. That's part of the business room. We know that. We know that's part of the business room.
And just on
it takes great strength and courage, I know that. And great concentration to eliminate it, to be able to perform.
And just on pitches, you were talking a bit before about the importance. How disappointed were you to see the Perth wicket rated average?
Yeah, I was really surprised actually. I guess a couple of balls stayed low. I think Pat Cummins' ball stayed low. But I just thought it was such entertaining Test cricket. It's the fastest pitch I've ever seen in Perth. There you go. And I've been there for a long time, so there's a headline for you. But I just thought it was really exciting cricket. I thought it was exciting Test cricket. Got a result on the last session of day 5. I was a bit surprised by the rating, but I think from a personal point of view, I love seeing cricket played like that.
Hi, Coach. You've seen it all up close and personal. What does Boxing Day means to you and the whole team?
Well, it's been my favourite day of the calendar year, probably my whole life. I used to get up in Perth and have Christmas Day, and then you get up at 7 o'clock, it's on telly, listen to Richie Benno and see the national anthem. And so it's been a very exciting time. My eldest daughter, who arrives from London tonight, her first 14 years was here at the same hotel coming for Boxing Day Test matches. So 7 years later, it's nice to come back and be with my family and Boxing Day. I mean, the national anthem on Boxing Day, the national anthems, the noise is incredible. I said to Travis Head today, what he will surprise him is the noise. And that's something that you don't get in too many places. You get it in Bangalore in India. I've seen it at Eden Gardens in Calcutta. But first day Boxing Day, just this noise, it's unbelievable, and that's exciting. Smell of the grass sounds a bit sad as well, but actually the smell of the grass Boxing Day, then the national anthem, and then the noise, and then cricket. Oh, it's a great day. It is a great day. I can't wait for tomorrow.
Justin, can I ask you a two-parter on Nathan Lyon? Firstly, he's got Virat Kohli out 7 times now. It's as much or more than anyone. How much does that play a part strategy-wise? And secondly, is he better than you thought he was when you came to the job?
I hope he gets him out 11 times in the next... that's 11 by the end of this series, because we know Virat's... I mean, he's at another level. The way that 100 in the first innings, that is an unbelievable Test match innings. So he's a great player. The great bowlers, so to answer the second part of your question, the great bowlers get out the great batsmen. that's why they're great. It's the same as the great players stand up under pressure. We've seen it with Virat, especially in that first innings. I mean, that's why they're called great players. It's actually the message I sent to the boys at the end of day 3, I reckon, the first test. They're great players for a reason because they stand up under pressure. He does that. Nathan Lyon's doing it at the moment. This is a massive series. He's standing up for us. So he's turned into he is literally I mentioned he's a world-class bowler, and it's great to have him in there. And the other thing about him is there's some real confidence about him. He's talking in the change room. He's showing great leadership. He hasn't got a title at the moment, but shows great leadership. And his fielding, he's like a gazelle in the field. So, he's nice and fit. He's playing well. He seems really settled off the field, and he's having a big impact on this series, isn't he?
Justin, Andrew from 7 News. Do you feel like the shackles have potentially been broken in terms of what happened between Tim Paine and Virat Kohli? I think there was a sense that the Australian team was maybe walking on eggshells in the line and how far they could go, and that it seemed to kind of break the shackles open where they might be a bit freer now and not worrying about overstepping the line and potentially being the first to do so after it was sort of a touchy subject. And now it
there's
seems
two things to that. I think we know what the expectations are. And the players know that. I thought it was really good. I love that. I love watching that. We saw a bit of Aussie humour. We talk about, call it sledging or banter, call it what you like, but there's a bit of humour to it, and we pride ourselves on that. Usually when in the great days I've seen in Australian cricket, that's all it is. It's so much fun. That's why when people tell me, there can't be any speaking out on the ground, I say, mate, it's boring. It's like playing on flat wicket. It's actually funny, and there's some good humour. I thought Marcus Harris is as cheeky as they come, but he was a bit of humour about it, and that's what we pride ourselves on. It doesn't need to be angry, it doesn't need to be abusive, but when there's that humour and there's a bit of, but we've got to stand up for ourselves. That's really important. That's the Australian way of doing things as well. We can't, we've got to stand up for ourselves, and I thought the way Tim did, I'm that impressed with Tim Paine's captaincy. I've said it from day one. I was blessed in WA to have Adam Voges and Simon Kadich. Now I'm blessed to have Tim Paine. I mean, he's really shows the best wicket-keeper in the world. He's on top of his game in his wicket-keeping. We've seen it in the past that after the last test match, Steve Warren, Ricky Ponting, Alan Border, Michael Clark, even Mark Taylor, they were on top of their game, and it was really important. Well, Tim Paine's on top of his game as the best wicket-keeper in the world, so that gives him great confidence. And the way he is on and off the field, great credit to him. We're lucky to have him.
And just last one, just on Clarko. If Clarko was to slot into your team, what do you think he'd be doing? Would be a nuggety opener like yourself, or would he come in a few leggies, or would he Darren Goff style charge in, or as a smaller man?
Well, knowing his success of footy, he might be the captain and the coach. He might be a captain coach. There you go. He'd easily take my job. He's a much better coach than I am. So. He'd take my job as the coach, make him captain. He obviously knows the game pretty well. But it's nice to see those guys around. And we've had Steve Waugh was with us in Adelaide, which was brilliant. It's so great to have Punter and Adam Gilchrist and Glenn McGrath and Andrew Simons. The list goes on. Simon Kadich, Ed Cowan. It's great to have them around with all the coverage now, because you don't realise the influence it has on our team. Just to have them around, to have guys like the footy coaches around today. There was actually, because we've got 3 or 4 Hawthorns and Hawthorn tragics, and when I introduce them, there's like a massive shit. They're the biggest nerds in the world. They're all high-fiving each other, and they're like, Dean Hill's our analyst. Seriously, I reckon it's the best day of his life today, because he met Alistair Clarkson. And I honestly, don't worry about Boxing Day test, don't worry about winning the Ashes. He met Alistair Clarkson today, and mate, he will have a smile on his face for the next year, so that's gold for us.
Just in the way Pat Cummins has been shaping up at number 8, going forward, do you see him maybe get a promotion, and maybe so that you can play an extra bowler? Is he a potential all-rounder that you're looking at some point?
I know one of his goals is to become the best number 8 in the world. It actually is. So, and for those, we've seen it with Ashwin in the past for India. We've seen really good teams, seen Wokes in a sense for their really important runs. So if he keeps working on his batting like he is, I know he's done some work on his batting, did some work with Mark O'Neill when that Shield game was on in Perth that they missed out on. So he's working hard on it. He has a crack, doesn't he? He bowls well, he fields well, he bats well, he's in all the commercials. It's not a bad life, is it? But he's doing really well, and we know how important those runs are in all forms of the game. Promotion was a bit like having Adam Gilchrist come in at 7. It breaks the heart of the opposition. If Pat Cummins can make runs at number 8, that's really, psychologically, that's important.
Just with the verbals again, do you feel as a side that, given the scrutiny you are under for your behaviour, do you feel sides sort of see this as an opportunity to push your buttons without the fear of you having to retaliate?
Yeah, they can if they like. They can try.
But do you feel they're doing that?
No, I don't think so. That might be part of the strategy of their game. I don't know, but that'll even itself out. If we start playing better cricket, that tends to even itself out.
Justin, what did you make of Steve Smith's press conference last week, and where do you sort of see he's at the moment in terms of his mindset and keenness to get back and play cricket again?
Yeah, most importantly, I've seen him face to face and I've spoken to him, so and that's much more important to me than what I read in the press. And that's with absolute respect, because then I hear it straight from the horse's mouth. I think he's in a very determined place. Obviously, it's been a really tough time for him. But we can't wait to see him. We can't wait to have him back. Really looking forward to it. He's Virat Kohli of the Australian cricket team. That's the truth of it. He's an outstanding player. He's been our captain. He's a fantastic young bloke. So, I know how determined he is to get back to play for Australia, and that makes me feel warm and fuzzy. Knowing Steve Smith is determined. I know for you guys, you probably read Cameron Bancroft's letter to himself. Well, that was incredibly courageous, what he wrote, and he's learned. I mean, if you see how he's blossomed, it is unbelievable. I've known him since he was very young. To see how he's gone from pretty much, you'd say, a boy into a man from what's happened, that warms my heart as well. And I know Davey Warner's the same. Davey Warner will be training like Rocky Balboa at the moment, which is, such a good player. They're very determined to get back in the Australian cricket team. So. Yeah, and there's a process, obviously, it's going to happen in the next little bit, but it's a pretty exciting time, I think.
And JL, just on Mitchell Marsh, if he does get selected, would he bat in the top 6, or would Tim Paine go to 6 in particular?
No, he'll definitely bat in the top 6.
Just on the Smith and Warner and the return, there's obviously that one-day series against Pakistan around that time. I don't know if you've thought about that yet. Is there a potential, if the dates line up, for them to come back and play that series, or are you expecting them to play the off?
There's potential, yeah. There's definitely potential. Again, that's part of the process of, do we think about tomorrow's Test match? Do we start there? Lots of conversations going on. What's best for our bowlers? What's best for the guys returning? And I'm sure we'll work through that. We'll get the best outcome for Australian cricket, for them personally. So we'll work through that. But there's certainly been no decisions or any. No, there's been no decisions made at this stage.